All right, so here you see Singleton, right? So you see this class called mono Singleton. Now the way this works is that typically what you would see a developer do is when they create any class and they want to make it a Singleton, they'll start by creating some private and name it. Uh, you'll call it static mono singleton. So mono singleton is the name of the class. You'll call it instance. And then in the awake method, they'll just go and say instance is equal to this, right? So that's the most common way that you'd see developers use the singleton pattern, right? But essentially, there are a lot of issues in this one. Would anybody care to explain here? So if I have this particular thing on a game object, it's a mono behavior, I can attach it on a game object. Um, right off the bat, you can just see that, this is not really, it is loosely a singleton, but I can go and create a duplicate game object, attach another mono singleton to it, and it will still work. Um, So in that case, you'll end up with two instances of it, and two instances will exist in parallel. Uh, so it's not gonna be a pure singleton. Secondly, so if I say, the second level that I see devs doing is if instance is not equal to, or rather say if it's equal to null, right? And then they'll say, oh, so that means there isn't an instance of this particular singleton that exists. So now I'm gonna mark this instance as this, okay? So this is better than the previous version, but again, it's a problem, right? Because even now, all we are saying is that whichever is the very first object that gets created of this class mono singleton, that's the one that this instance is going to hold, right? So the first time when instance is null, we'll assign it value. But if I keep duplicating these game objects on which the script is attached, right, the second one, its awake, is going to get called, just that it will not pass this if. But we haven't defined what happens when this instance is not equal to null. When somebody is trying to create an instance and an instance already exists, that means somebody is trying to create a duplicate instance, right? So far what we have done, this is definitely better than the previous version, but it still doesn't solve a problem. So essentially what we want to do is we want to define an else case. An else case means that we have an instance and that instance already exists. So somebody somewhere created this singleton before us, okay? So in this case, we'll say, instead of doing anything with this instance, we'll just say, we want to destroy this object. That means something is trying to create a duplicate object when an object already exists, okay? So an object already exists, and we said this is a singleton object, only one should exist. So anytime a new object, somebody's trying to create a new object, we won't let them. We will directly destroy it, okay? So that's the most basic implementation of singleton that is actually correct. So this is the least amount of stuff that you can do to make sure that when you say that I've implemented a